Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
We should be able to get started in just a few minutes. We're really tight on our quorum, so I'm hoping that we get everybody able to jump on. But we'll give it just a couple more minutes. Debbie, just so you know, you're going to be serving as chair. Kaylin stepped down from the commission. So I don't know the exact hierarchy because we also don't have Dennis, and Dennis is the secretary. So you'll serve as chair, but I don't know how the rest will work. So I'll speak with it. She just told me, so I'll speak with the city clerk and figure that out for the next meeting. If we have to have another election of officers, then we'll do that.
Okay. I hope everything's okay with Kaylin.
I think she just had scheduling conflicts and just decided to step down.
Okay.
Did everyone get their packets okay?
Yes.
Great. And then I think Dennis was trying to jump on. Dennis, are you here? Maybe not yet. There's Dan. We just need Dennis and Austin, and then we can get started. And I think Dwayne was still trying to jump on. Does anybody see Dwayne that I don't? No? Okay.
While we're here, was I incorrect in thinking that Austin was at our last meeting? I know it doesn't, it shows him as not being present, but I could have sworn.
He was not.
Okay.
I didn't have him on, but if that's a mistake, I can correct it.
I saw that he wasn't in the meetings, but I could have just sworn that he was, and I guess I was mistaken.
I think he was working one of the late night movies on the square.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, just making sure you can hear me all right.
Yeah, we hear you, Dan. No problem.
Okay, sorry about that. I was having some issues with my headset. So
Thank you.
Wendy, what constitutes a quorum?
Well, it's kind of strange because we have 2 non-voting members, but last I was told we need 4 plus one of the non-voting members.
Okay.
And Sam and Carol are our non-voting ex officios. And so we need a total of 4 other voting members.
And we have 3.
And we have 3.
Well, and I constitute 1 person for quorum.
You're a half of a vote.
That's lovely.
I like that, Sam.
Yeah. It's better than no vote at all.
Yeah, that's true. I'd just like to welcome Rebecca Cornish. She is the property owner of 218 North Delaware.
Thank you.
She has popped on here to talk about that COA. We should also be getting one of the city staff members, Eric Fitch, who will be talking about 309 West, oh goodness, College. I almost said Cottage. Rebecca, we're just waiting on at least one other person to join us, so we have a quorum, and then we can get started.
Okay. All right, sounds great.
Someone's here.
That's me, Wendy. This is Austin Conley. I was having problems with my computer, so I had to dial in by phone. Apologies.
Okay.
No problem. That's good, because so far we don't have a quorum without you. So thank you, Austin. And that's our fourth, and I've got 6:03 on my clock. I did text Dwayne to see if he's having any technical issues. So if he does, he'll text me, but otherwise I think we can get started.
Okay, calling this meeting of the Heritage Commission to order, and I think first on our list will be approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Did you get those, Wendy?
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Chaz.
Okay, then who was the first? Because I had you down as the first. I'm
Austin.
sorry.
Austin was the first.
It was
Austin.
Austin.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion items? Okay, seeing no discussion, it's been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And none opposed?
Any opposed? Thank you, Wendy. Any opposed?
Okay.
All right. Up first will be the minutes of the last.
I'm sorry, Chair Twyman. I didn't do a roll call.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay. So I'll do that just really quickly. Chair Twyman,
Here.
Commissioner Tharp is not present. Commissioner Stevens, any chance he jumped on? No. Commissioner Puente,
Here.
Commissioner Conley.
Here.
Commissioner Pierce. He's
Here.
He's here. Commissioner Roche
Here.
and Commissioner Daig.
Here.
And we do have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay. First up, minutes of the meeting. Any discussion regarding the minutes of the last meeting? Seeing none, do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. This is Austin.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of our last meeting, May 4th, 2021. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. The minutes are approved. That brings us to our discussion and action items. I think, no, I take that back. That brings us to the certificate of appropriateness for 218 North Delaware Street.
Hold on just a moment. I am going to get our PowerPoint presentation up here if I can share. There we go. And to begin, we have a introductory statement that the chair reads. Can you see that okay?
Somewhat. No, not really, actually. We'll give it a shot. As acting chair, I wish to state for the record that the commission guidelines, procedures, the qualifications of the commission members, staff, and any consultants are made part of the record of each public meeting. Each application is considered on its own merits, although prior
Commission decisions.
It's hidden underneath.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It says, although prior commission decisions may be considered in reaching a determination with respect to any individual application or project.
Got it. Okay. What she said? Can we do that?
Just basically that it's considered on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
So
right.
I've got a brief PowerPoint presentation. I'll go through the staff report first for 218 North Delaware.
Okay.
And I did this backwards, so we'll do that. And the request is a consideration of a certificate of appropriateness for the expansion of a garage at 218 North Delaware. And the property owner, Rebecca Cornish, is here to answer any questions. The property was constructed in 1925 and is considered contributing to both the local and the National Historic Landmark District. The applicant's proposing to expand the existing one-car garage, and the picture is in front of you there, to accommodate 2 cars. The new garage will match the style, materials, orientation, and height of the current garage, including a contemporary metal overhead door, hardy plank, clapboard style siding, and a composition shingle front-facing gable roof. So some of the items in the staff report don't apply because this is not a historic resource that we're modifying. It's a newer contemporary resource. So when we say the building remains in situ, it's the existing building in the house. The proposed garage will complement that found on the current non-contributing garage. The dwelling and garage retain their historic setting within a residential neighborhood. It retains its connection with the surrounding neighborhood, and the dwelling is affiliated with the development of the Truman District. So staff is asking that because the preservation design guidelines provide direction, and based on the proposal, that the addition or the expansion of this garage will not be detrimental to the overall integrity of the property or the district, that it does meet the requirements outlined in the guidelines for height, materials, orientation, style, setback, and location. And it is in keeping with the historic style of the dwelling. And its enlargement does not change the location or orientation of the current garage. So staff therefore asks that Heritage commissioners consider approval of the proposal to expand the garage. The commission should have received in the packet elevations that outline both the materials as well as the new appearance of the expanded garage. There were several requests that had to be approved prior to coming to the Heritage Commission, and in order to make sure that the property could be rezoned, because it was originally part of the apartment buildings to the rear. So a portion of that property was rezoned to now be in R6, which is single family, and then also a variance to allow for the expansion into the existing setback was also given by the Board of Adjustment. And so both of those occurred prior to it coming before the Heritage Commission. The Heritage Commission is now just looking at the overall design and how it relates to the existing house. And so what you see in front of you on the left is the picture of the single family home, the existing home. What you see on the right prior to is the existing garage. And then in this picture, you see the lot of where the expansion would be taking place, which would encroach to the west toward that apartment building, Patriot Place Apartments. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, as I said, Rebecca Cornish is here, the property owner, if you have questions for her. And otherwise, I will turn it back over to the commission.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions of Ms. Cornish?
This is Commissioner Prenti. I have a question. Wendy, you said that the height was going to be the same as the existing garage, but it looks like it's actually continuing the roof line. Does that final roof line, it still remains below the house though, correct?
I believe it does, yes. And it's a requirement in Independence for any auxiliary or accessory building to be below the height of the main dwelling. So it will absolutely be below that overall height.
Any
That was the only
other
question I had.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Well, I'm supportive of this application, but I guess I was more curious than anything else, and that is, when was this existing garage built?
Well, oh, sorry. Am I supposed to answer?
Yeah, feel free.
Okay. I believe it was probably around 2005 or 6. The house to the north of me, which shares a driveway with me, was condemned, and their flooring dipped like 12 inches, and so they redid the whole thing, and they built my garage at the same time that they renovated that house. at that time because I didn't own a 10 by 18 piece of land to the west of this garage. They could only build a 1-car garage. And so that's when it was built. There was actually a gigantic tree in the middle of this parking lot, which I call the garage driveway. And part of the deal was if they could take down my tree, they said that they would, at a good price, give me a garage, which is what I wanted. And so that's when it happened, probably around 2005 or 6, around that time. I'm not really sure. I will say that the materials that are on the house are the same as the materials that are on the garage, with the exception of the ones on the house are that color. The ones on the garage before they created the beige colored hardy plank, it was white, and so it's been painted. So the garage is painted, and as you notice, it needs a little paint, but that's because I'm waiting for the 2-car garage to be approved.
Okay. Thank you. And you answered my question as to why a 2-car garage wasn't built in the first place. So thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
This is Austin. I just wanted to, my wife and I have a house that is 2 houses away from Rebecca's house, and she's been, as you heard Wendy state, this has not been a one-step process. She's been doing this. She's been communicating with us for at least 6 months and kept both of the neighbors in the loop, because that little run of 3 houses is, they're all in very close proximity. And like she said, there's a shared driveway with 2 out of the 3 neighbors. And both neighbors, I can speak for the neighbor in between us as well, because we've been on several group text messages. He's in full support, as are we. She's really done her homework, and I think it's going to be a great addition. It's going to be a lot more functional for her, and there's really going to be no impact. You're never really going to notice it. The only people that'll ever see it are those in any of the 3 backyards. So we're in full support of it. I think it's going to be great.
This is Carol, and I just wanted to say to Rebecca that we appreciate you maintaining contact and keeping us informed about this. And we'll be able to see it from our small parking lot, but we are supportive of the action.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other comments from commissioners? Okay. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion. I believe that Ms. Shea's packet gives you options. Option 1 would be to move the approval of certificate of appropriateness for the expansion of the garage at 218. Or if the commission chose, they could do so with conditions or state reasons that they wanted to modify this, or they could disapprove the expansion and deny it. Do I have a motion?
This is Commissioner Conley. I would like to make a motion to approve the expansion of the garage at 218 South Delaware as presented to us.
Can you make sure it says North Delaware? You said South.
Oh, North Delaware. Sorry, I don't know why I would have said South. Sorry about that.
This is Commissioner Parenti. I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the certificate of appropriateness for the expansion of the garage at 218 North Delaware Street. All those in favor, please say aye.
I'll actually, if it's okay, I actually have to do a roll call for that.
Do you? Okay.
So I will start with Chair Twyman.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens is actually on listening. He called in. He's here. Commissioner Stevens, did you want to make a motion on this, or for 218 North Delaware?
About the garage?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, we have a. I'm sorry, Dwayne. We have a motion, a first and second. We're just doing the vote.
Okay, that's fine. I'm for it. I think it's a good plan.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Commissioner Puente.
Aye.
Commissioner Conley.
Yes.
Commissioner Pierce.
Yes.
Okay, and we have an approval 5-0 for the expansion of the garage. So Rebecca, I will send you a letter stating that you have approval just for your files. And I just want to thank you so much for everything you've done to gather all this information together for the packet and to work with the city on this. We love the project and we're looking forward to working with you on getting it completed.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
If I may say, Rebecca, it's really the best. We see lots of them. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you
So
very much.
thank
I
you.
really appreciate that. Thank you. You all have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. You as well.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that brings us to considering a certificate for appropriateness for the demolition of a single-family home at 309 West College Street.
Okay, I am going to read the staff report. Is Eric Fitch on the meeting? Do you know? He just texted me saying he was going to be on. Hold on just a moment. I'm just going to tell him that I'm starting 309 now. Hopefully he'll jump on. Okay, so we are looking at a demolition request. It's a city initiated request for 309 West College. The property consists of a one-story single-family home constructed circa 1890. The house is currently vacant and has been vacant for over 6 months. The previous owner is deceased. After numerous code violations, the building was declared dangerous by the City of Independence on May 20th, 2021. The property was tagged due to a lack of utilities, fire hazards, blocked egress, extensive trash, evidence of transients, pest infestation, tall grass, weeds, an abandoned vehicle on the premises, and wood rot. The city is proposing to demolish the one-story dwelling in order to clear the site. Deficiencies listed above and the lack of a responsible party able to maintain or occupy the dwelling are the reasons the city wishes to proceed with demolition. No structural engineer's report was submitted. The existence of a variety of violations, lack of ownership, numerous complaints by neighbors and area property owners, and its current status as a dangerous building are the city's justifications for demolition. According to our demolition requirements, the property does remain a single-family home, but is vacant. It reflects a vernacular style of architecture with the introduction of material modifications that has affected its overall integrity. The property was tagged and recognized as a dangerous building by the City of Independence. The property is currently vacant. The building suffers from prolonged deferred maintenance, lack of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, wood rot, fire hazards, and trash. There is nothing in the dwelling that would be a candidate for salvage. The structural engineer's report was not submitted. The city, which is at this time the applicant, proposes to clear the lot, and loss of the building would impact the immediate area, though neither the dwelling nor the neighborhood are eligible for historic designation, and this area was not recognized in the city's master plan as an eligible neighborhood for consideration due to its lack of a high level of integrity. The request is coming before the commission only due to the age, the fact that it is over 100 years old. While the houses in this area do represent modest working class housing dating to the turn of the 20th century, the dwelling's contemporary materials and an overall lack of craftsmanship does not support its retention. So staff asked for a commission's discretion. And I will show you, this is the front of 309, and I believe the west elevation. This is our interior shots of it. As you can see, there's nothing historic about the interior. It's all drywall. There's no historic trim. There are very few historic windows. It's all fairly contemporary and not in good shape. And I am going to email Eric, but I'm happy to turn it back over to the commission. If you have any questions for staff, I'm happy to answer them. Oh, Eric just said he got in. Eric, are you on? There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
I apologize. I was having trouble linking up.
So I just gave him an overview, Eric, of what was in the staff report.
Okay.
And turned it back over to the commission. So they have an opportunity to either ask questions of myself or of you. And
Sure.
That's where we're at.
Sounds great.
Commissioners, does anyone have any questions? May I ask if the commissioners have had a chance to take a look at the building?
Yes.
Yes, I have as well. This is Austin, and I do have a question. Can can you explain to me what the process is post demolition on what the city's plan is with the property long term? Is there an interested buyer, a neighbor that wants the property? How is that process going to shake out? Excuse my ignorance, sorry.
Oh, no worries. So normally, quite a few of these end up as just a vacant lot that we end up taking care of, if you believe it or not. But then Jackson County has started a new program where they're offering these lots to an adjacent owner for a lower price than, just paying back taxes and the demolition fees. They kind of bid on it, and then they offer it to them at like a third of what the overall cost would have been, that type of thing. So we are seeing more of these where they're getting picked up by folks, and they may fence them, have a bigger yard, or do a room addition or something if it wasn't viable before. But that's a real recent thing to come about. So we haven't seen a ton of them, but it is a little bit more promising than just us mowing a vacant lot for sure.
Hey, Eric, can you tell them what your title is, please?
Oh yeah, sorry guys, and I'm sorry for being late too. My title is Building Inspections Manager, so I oversee the Building Inspections Division as well as the Neighborhood Services Division, or as we like to refer to them, the Codes Department.
Have any of the neighbors expressed an interest in the lot?
They have not to myself. I think Councilwoman DeLucci has been in contact with a few of them, but I don't know what their conversations entailed other than the current tiki torching I've received from the place being unsightly.
I'm sure you have. It's in dreadful shape.
It is. It really is. And it's sad to see. And these are the kind that break my heart the most because I really wish someone could do something with that. But it gets in this stage where it's just too far gone, I think. And that's kind of where we're at with this one.
Yeah. I do have a question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Eric, I'd ask you a question that I'd ask if privately owned this house, and that is, about the absence of a structural engineer's report process. I just think it's a good process. I know it's expensive. You roll your eyes and think, why? But, I visited the place, and foundation-wise, it looks solid. I've seen worse. And I wonder, in terms of the justification, why there's no structural engineer report.
Yeah, that's a great question. Normally, I agree with Wendy in providing these. I don't think that this one technically has that many structural issues, although we have not physically been inside the house other than to look through a few windows. I don't know what the hoarding situation in there has done. We could have all kinds of issues underneath some of that, but the lack of that, I can only lend that to you're exactly correct. Spending the money. I also lend it to I'm having some real tough goes right now with getting folks like that on board. Everybody's super busy, and so the folks that we have under contract to do that for us have frankly not returned a lot of my calls. And then I just went outside of them to even reach out to some other individuals, and it was tough to get anybody to want to handle it. It's such a I don't know how to say it, not making money item for them, I assume that's why the shove off all the time. But yeah, sure. So that if that explains it, I hope so. It's nothing more than that, honestly.
No, I appreciate that, and I totally get what you're talking about, and the inconvenience of it. But I guess I'd ask the commission whether they're concerned at all, because that would be something that I would ask a private homeowner to possibly provide, given that this is a demo.
Mm-hmm. We've only met 2 of the 7 items we're supposed to meet in order to apply for this. And I get that it's the city. And I'm sure that the neighbors, having driven by, I'm sure that the neighbors on both sides are really wanting something to be done. It's.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any avenues through codes or through the county to, I'm all for if it does need torn down because it is in complete disrepair and that's what the neighborhood wants, then I'm always an advocate for what a neighborhood wants to do with their own neighborhood. But I just wonder if there's a way, and it may not be with this particular property, but that we can't start cutting this problem off at the pass. And I mean, you know, there are so many people out there between, you know, small-time real estate investors and full-time, you know, large-scale developers. If we gave them an avenue to some of these rundown houses, you know, I can't imagine that there wouldn't be buyers on these, you know, so that we don't have to continue to tear stuff down and have these missing teeth. Or worse yet, we've created yet another lot that the city doesn't have time or the manpower to mow, and so we end up with, you know, the neighbors taking care of it for free, or it looking, you know, as bad, if not as worse than it did before. So, I mean, in your realm, as far as what you deal with in those departments, are there avenues that the city or the county can get ownership of these properties quicker and speed this process up? And instead of us tearing them down, we're, you know, taking bids from buyers. Is that a feasible solution in the long term that we can look at?
Yeah, it sure is. I've also tried to gear my orientation to that more so than, you know, we used to just, you know, it was either the county took them and somebody bought them from them, or we tore them down. I mean, those were the only two avenues. We've since been fishing our dangerous building report. I've created an email group from interested folks. This all started when someone had a, you know, how to buy investment properties, for lack of a better term, Tony Robbins seminar, you know, in Kansas City. And I got a great response from that, from a lot of folks asking for code compliance reports or dangerous building reports, you know, so that they could go around to these properties and check them out. So I thought that was a great idea. And we've since created this email group every month that these go out to, of these folks. Nobody, you know, we never had that before. We just had the occasional person coming around, you know, hey, you got anything, you know, about, you know, type thing. So that's helped quite a bit. I will say, in that we have about 238, I think, currently dangerous buildings in the city. Of those, we have, that number has went down, believe it or not. And we've actually got a few of those with down the same avenue you're talking about, where we've had an investor that was in the email group that we created that reached out to whatever owner they could find or the county, and you know, was able to obtain the property. I think we have 6 of those in the last year, which I know doesn't sound resounding, but with what I'm dealing with, it's kind of nice. So that is something we're trying. You know, it's a hard row to hoe on the houses that end up, you know, with a dead owner, say a deceased owner, and then, you know, no probate anywhere. Nobody's showing up to claim it. Those are the hardest ones, and I have about 7 of those currently. You know, quite a few of them have been burned by vagrants, so it's almost, you know, they're not in this kind of situation. But they, you know, they're it's tough when that happens for us to be able to get anything done. I'll be honest with you.
Is there any sort of contact with anybody associated with the property owner of this property, or are we just completely in the dark? No response.
We're completely in the dark. Yeah, I guarantee it wouldn't be at this spot if I had anybody responsible at all. On the onset of the issues with it, you know, we ran down what I call the 3-month rabbit hole, where we try, you know, we initially clean it up a little bit, try to, you know, get the trash and everything out of there, try to make contact with anyone that will contact us, set hearings, you know, that kind of thing, post public notice. You know, and we got absolutely no response here with this one.
Yeah.
Eric, have you reached out to Habitat for Humanity or VCP to see if they would be interested in taking over properties like this?
Not VCP, I apologize, but Habitat is currently in that email group, so they're aware of any of these houses we have listed. And from time to time, the certain investors, you know, the real active ones I have, and they're one of them, will reach out to me and ask me what I know. Can I send them photos? You know, what's going on with this place? What's it going to take to do whatever? And I still on this house haven't had any interest at all, even from those folks.
Okay, Deb, I'll bite. What's VCP?
Veterans Community Project.
Yeah.
They have been doing some rehabbing of houses. They have the tiny house village for veterans right now, but they've also moved into expanding and basically doing a Habitat for Humanity kind of thing with existing projects for providing them then to homeless veterans who are ready to move out of the homeless village and be on their own.
Okay.
It's a great
Thank you.
organization.
Thank you.
So I have one more question, I think. So you mentioned your email group and that this property had been on your email group. Can I ask what that looks like? Are you saying that you've posted it for sale and it's for sale for X dollars in your email group? Is that how that works? So
No,
an
it's
avenue to acquire it?
Gotcha. No, it's more a informational thing. So it's, here's 309 College, here's what we know, here's any contact info we have, here's the county's information for taxes. We kind of give them whatever info we have, provide the case file even if they want it, so that they get a real clear picture. But no, we don't have any way to, take the property and sell it, or even, ask Jackson County to if the taxes aren't in arrears.
Then how does this work? We're demolishing property, but we can't take the property? I apologize for not being able. I'm having some trouble following that.
Yeah, I understand. That is correct. I mean, the city doesn't have a land bank, so we don't actively, take these under our wing and, rehab them or push them out for sale. Our only option, once they've reached this kind of stage where we don't have any contact and no responsible party, is to demolish them. Mm-hmm. Unless we can get an investor, like you mentioned.
Eric, can I also just say that the city considers it a health and safety issue?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why they'll clear it, but they don't have funding to rehabilitate it. So it's not really, it is somewhat of a taking, but really it has more to do with the fact that there are health/life and safety issues, and that's what the city can act on.
I guess I'm
in Wendy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
Well, you bring up a good point. I was over there I think you can see on the slide there, the red sign on the door. I think it says dangerous building. We've seen other cases where, review by the Heritage Commission, at least no formal review like tonight's meeting, where, Dangerous Buildings has proposed, this is what we're going to take down because it's a health and safety issue. And you just go, makes this property different.
As far as an emergency demolition, Sam?
Well, maybe, is that the difference? If it's an emergency and this is not an emergency, why this is having a formal review tonight?
Yes. So any of the properties that are declared an emergency, meaning that basically they're just in imminent danger of collapse, okay, those are declared officially emergency demolitions. And those are the ones that I send you notification on that it will not be coming to the commission because it's cleared for basically an immediate demo. If it is sound enough that no one would necessarily get hurt standing next to the building, or that, there could be some sort of a storm and blow it over, or there's a fire that gutted it, and that's often what you see with those emergency demos, then those, if they're stable enough and they're safe for the public to stand, but not necessarily to stay, then they come before the commission prior to that demolition process.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. And the other thing, and Eric, I sure appreciate your time tonight, talking with us and answering our questions. But
yeah, not a problem.
And I know it's expensive for the city to tear down property as well and clear it. I'm wondering if this kind of property looks to me like it'd be a really prime candidate for a mothballing ordinance, which I know the city of Independence doesn't have, but this looks like a candidate for mothballing, boarding up the windows, et cetera, to stabilize it maybe through the fall and winter until spring when one of a potential buyer could come, but it doesn't exist. So, and I don't know if there's any support, among city council for that sort of action. I think in the past the answer's been no.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have a mothballing ordinance. I do try to lean towards that if I think, even with all the boxes marked that there's potential. I'll try my best to maintain them until we can have that, come to fruition. The issues that I have, it cost me approximately, for a house like this about $1,700 to $2,000 to board the house up through our contractors. And then, I'm also spending the money to maintain the property. So our normal abatements are $100 to $500 for a property like this, that each time I mow it or repair a board that's been pulled off by vagrants, that kind of thing. And so in the same vein that Wendy mentioned with the the emergency demolitions, I have to lean towards health and safety just as much in the realm of what's going on at the property as I do with the condition of the building. When vagrants continually break in these, you can see how close proximity the other structures are. These catch fire. We end up with 2 on fire instead of 1. I just have to take all this into consideration. Not to mention, I think a lot of the residents over here, have seen some folks coming and going that really alarmed them, and they were scared about kids in the area and all those. So I have to line all these things up: the police calls, the fire calls, the vagrancy issues, my staff, being in danger, all these things all, weigh in. So it is not a knee-jerk reaction. But I understand. And I get what you're saying about mothballing them. It just ends up to where I have to invest, $2,000 to $3,000 just to keep the property as is, where I could be placing that towards, the $7,000 or $8,000 it cost me to tear it down. It just sounds horrible because that's not my outward attitude under most conditions, but my budgets are tight and I've got to make it happen. So
I get it. No, I completely understand. I guess.
Go ahead, Sam.
I'm sorry, Deb.
No,
I was going to say one other thing I noticed, and not to nitpick, but in the COA application of the city, there's very little or nothing there about the historic integrity or lack thereof. Maybe we could change the description to request to demolish unkempt and dilapidated structure that has little or no historical integrity remaining.
Yeah, I think Wendy mentioned in there a lot of the material. Sorry to speak out of in your realm, Wendy, but I think she was talking about the in the report about a lot of the windows in vinyl clad siding, is already present. So it's been altered a little bit from what I understand, but Wendy, you could speak more to that. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Sam, we don't typically get a lot of that information in the COA application, because in addition to the fact that staff doesn't always have that information, just the property owners or whoever is coming in, be it an owner or an applicant, they don't typically have a lot of that information in advance. So that's usually something I include in the staff report.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking about the formal application itself,
yes,
that the city submitted.
Yeah, so that it actually comes from Eric in our dangerous building division, and then is sent to me for that type of evaluation. And that's the reason why there's just very general information. It's information more about how long it's been a dangerous building or what kind of code violations there are on it. And then when it comes to the preservation division, then I do the analysis about the overall integrity and whether it meets our standards for retention or to support demolition.
Okay. Thank you, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Eric.
Sure thing.
Do we have any other additional discussion or questions?
I will add, even though we don't have members of the neighborhood here, they have been very vocal with both city as well as our council member at large, Councilmember DeLucci. So there has been a lot of support to see this particular house demolished by the neighbors in order to just make the neighborhood a little safer and keep that transient issue from becoming a larger problem.
Any further questions or comments from commissioners?
I take it you never found any historical photos of this house, Wendy? I would love to have seen what the original siding looked like, but.
Yeah, no, it would have probably just been clapboard siding, just that really narrow clapboard siding on this. There was a mill in this area, and it likely would have been kind of, mill workers housing or other type of workers housing for people who might have been working off of the square. There just wasn't very much to the north of this. 24 highway wasn't there. And by the time you get further north of where 24 Highway is today, you're at the Vale property, because he owned a large portion of that north of what's now 24 Highway. So, you know, these just would have been very basic workers' cottages for the labor that was required for, you know, any number of businesses that would have been on the square and in this area. It would not have been, you know, any kind of ornamentation. It would have had very basic double hung sash windows, wood windows with wood siding, and that really would have been it. Otherwise, it probably looks pretty similar to what was there, minus the materials.
Thank you.
I hate the idea that we're having to demolish this, and we keep coming back to this whole demolition by neglect. Now, I understand that in this particular case, we had a party who died in intestate, so has this property gone through probate at all, or?
Not that I'm aware of. No, no one can produce anything for me on that aspect.
Okay. Is there no? I'm inquiring because I'm currently dealing with an estate out in California where a person died intestate, and we've been going through probate on that particular site, and that happened in 2018. So I know that this is kind of an involved process, but do we not have something like that here in Independence in Jackson County when someone dies without a will? What is the process for that? Or do you know, Eric or Wendy?
I do not. My only involvement in that is I'm able to reach out to the my contact at the county, ask them if they have any documents concerning it, so that I don't do something where there's some kind of action taking place, you know. Mm-hmm. In this case, I received nothing there. So that's the extent of my involvement. I apologize if that isn't enough, but it is all I do have to check on per state statutes to proceed. So
okay. All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion. This is Austin, to approve the demolition of 309 College.
I'll second that.
Okay, Dwayne is seconding. And
okay, we have a motion on the floor. It has been moved and seconded that we demolish the unkept or approve demolishing of the unkept and dilapidated structure at 309 West College Street. And this requires a roll call, Wendy?
It does. First, is there any discussion, any further discussion before there's a vote? Okay, seeing none, I will do the roll call. Chair Twyman?
Wendy?
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. I couldn't get myself off mute. I guess all due respect to the city, I'm still troubled by the lack of a structural engineer report. I would ask that of a private homeowner. I totally understand the circumstances, though. I'm sympathetic, totally sympathetic, but in terms of process, I mean, I don't know what to say other than I'm putting my non-voting view out there for everyone, but apparently no one else shares that concern. So,
I share your concern. I feel sympathy for the neighbors, however, on both sides of the house, and I wish that we could. I understand that the pandemic has made things somewhat difficult. That's an understatement. But, you know, we have 7 criteria for application for this, and we've met 2 of them. We haven't got a site plan or a survey. We don't have samples, obviously, because we're demolishing it. We don't know where it goes from here, and we don't have a structural engineer's report. Are we tearing down a building that could be rehabbed? And is it worth trying to rehab? And it sounds to me like Mr. Fisher is telling us, and Wendy is telling us, that there's virtually nothing in there worth saving of historical significance. And
yeah, that's right, Deb. And for me, it's even bigger than that. It just has to do with process. and whether we're following, and well, you get to that too. You're alluding to that too in terms of process. We're following the process, whether it's a city or a private homeowner. I totally sympathetic with homeowners, neighbors' concerns. I totally get that. But I think we have processes in place for a reason. And then when we feel like we can just bypass them for convenience, I don't think we're really doing our job. But I will step off. I've said what I'm going to say. So thank you.
So I'll just say that you have every right to request additional information if that's something that you feel you need to make a determination. But the Heritage Commission's only responsibility regarding demolition is to make sure that the city would not be losing an important historic resource if the demolition occurred. So while I understand that none of us really want to lose a building that can be rehabbed and kept on the tax rolls and kept on the property, we want to keep these neighborhoods intact. But the overall job of the Heritage Commission is really to determine whether or not the loss of this resource would be a significant loss of historic property or the built environment in Independence. So if you're making your vote, if you could please base it on the overall historic integrity of the property, of whether or not it should be retained as part of a historic neighborhood. That's really what the focus is and the mandate is of the commission.
By the same token, we've got an application process and we've not met the guidelines for the application.
Well, the application, we have never had a strict policy about, we have a policy, but there's nothing in writing that requires that we have a site plan, a survey, or an engineer's report. That's something that has come about over the years because for a long time, the commission was seeing a lot of requests with virtually nothing wrong with the building. It wasn't even, they were in better condition than this. There were no transients, there was no trash, there were no weeds, there was not wood rot. And after several of those, the commission decided to require a structural engineer's report to make sure that they were losing buildings that really would require a lot of effort to get them rehabilitated and in a livable condition. And so that's not technically in the ordinance. It's just something that has been requested over the years as additional evidence to support the demolition. But really the mandate and the way that our ordinance is written is that it's to determine whether or not the building is a historic resource and its loss would be an overall loss to the historic integrity in Independence.
This is Eric again, if I may. Just to lend to the conversation, I really don't consider this a matter of convenience by skipping that report. It's totally, a budget question with me versus what I could gain from getting the report, if you can understand me there. Second to that, lifelong resident of this town. I'm almost 50. I am a new building official. I've only been doing this for about 7 years, new by most building official standards. But I do have an Aunt Cheryl. And my Aunt Cheryl lives in Walla Walla, Washington, and she does the exact same thing Wendy does. So I visit these with Aunt Cheryl almost every time they happen. And, she screams and barks at me exactly how Wendy does. So I do 100% appreciate the process. I wanted to lend that to you all. And it's not very often that I would bring something like this to you without that information. I'll just put that out there. It's not something I intend to do in the future by any means.
Thank you, Eric.
Sure,
I'm completely sympathetic to your position. No worries there. And thank you, Wendy, for the reminder of our calling here.
It's very hard not to get wrapped up in a lot more of the details because I think all of us hate to see the loss of a building in a neighborhood. Nobody wants, like Austin, I think, mentioned missing teeth, and that's kind of what it ultimately becomes. But unfortunately, the Heritage Commission's only job is to look at, making sure we're not losing historic buildings. And for a while, we had a big problem with that in Independence, and this ordinance has allowed us to review those to make sure that doesn't happen. But ultimately, it comes down to whether or not this is a historic building and one that should be retained and treasured as part of our built environment and our historic, overall historic integrity of the city. So I know it's hard to disassociate the other aspects of it, but that is what the Heritage Commission is charged with.
Wendy, while this isn't necessarily a historic building in itself, there's nothing really to retain, but isn't there something to be said for the repetition that it creates on the street, the feel of that neighborhood? It's still that building creates part of that, by having something there. I mean, there's similar scale to all the houses around it. So, I mean, I realize this neighborhood is not that it's not on the preservation, but I still think there's something to be said that we have to look at it in the fabric that it sits in more than just the house.
It absolutely does, but when we look at the overall context of the house within the neighborhood would not meet our historic standards either. And those are standards that are in our ordinance, in the National Park Services regulations. They're in our design guidelines. So it is absolutely a loss in a neighborhood. It's just whether or not it's a loss of a historic resource in a historic neighborhood.
This is a tough call for me, because I look at it and I'm not seeing. There have been some things that you've brought to us where it's been almost a no-brainer, because it is clearly structurally unsound. This one, I don't know that I see that. And yet, how long has this been sitting here unoccupied?
Approximately 6 months, I believe, is what was in the packet, I think. Is that right, Wendy?
Yeah, it's been at least 6 months. I don't know when the owner passed away, but it's been a minimum of 6 months.
And one has to have some sympathy for the people living next door, watching vagrants and
Sure.
coming in there. And I like Sam, I would prefer to see everything here, including the structural engineer's report. And I would have preferred to see us put this up on the auction block and see if it could be sold. But it sounds like these things really are not possible at this point. So we find ourselves in
a mechanism for that. And I'm in full support of that too. I mean, that's what's so frustrating is even, I do understand our role as the Heritage Commission and where our votes, are supposed to be on the built structure itself. But, even if we were to deny this application, we're almost doing the neighborhood an even bigger disservice, because there is still no clear avenue where we can give the neighborhood any sort of timeline on whenever that house could even be put up for sale. So I think a lot of heartburn that a lot of us are having here is there's really no avenue for us to even save this. What we're saying is, if we tell you that you can't tear it down, it's just going to continue to deteriorate, and there's really nothing that we can do as a city to step in and stop that, because we don't have a land bank.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's this never-ending cycle. I hate to be the one that signs off on tearing something down, because and this isn't always the case, but we are in a historical real estate market right now, and I can't imagine that we wouldn't have some buyer for it. And I know it's not going to be a lot of money, but it's better than coming out of pocket. I just wish that there was a mechanism for us to acquire that and not have to wait on the county's multi-year, dragging their feet process.
Is that where the hang up is on this? Is it the county's issue, or is it, I guess
it has to just go. It has to be, and Eric would know this, and Wendy would know this process better than me. But the way I understand it, it has to go multiple years of unpaid taxes before they can even begin the process of trying to acquire it. So you're talking about multiple years down the road. If this person's only been dead less than 12 or deceased less than 12 months, they probably paid their taxes at the end of 2020. So maybe you're looking at another 2 to 3 years down the road before it can make its way, through the wheels of bureaucracy.
And asking the people in this neighborhood who live on either side of the house to put up with this for 2 more years is
right. I wouldn't want that to be in my neighborhood. I know that.
Sure.
It is my neighborhood. It's nearby, but
I think
that makes a difference.
And I think if we wait those 2 years, the likelihood that vagrants get in there again is super high, and there's going to be a fire or something. So then we're going to have an emergency tear down, or it's going to cause structural damage, or it's going to cause damage to neighboring properties because these houses are so close.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When a fire happens.
I
Yeah,
just wish
this is
I
Eric.
I keep saying this every time we have a demolition. I just wish there was a better avenue for us to step in before things get to this point, that we could acquire the property as a city, either via land bank or whatever. That I don't know what mechanisms there are for us to do that, but it just seems like it would be better for everybody in the long run. You know, if it could be saved and somebody spruce it up and keep with, you know, the feel of the current neighborhood that's there as much as possible.
It's a shame to tear down a house that might be salvageable. And
Agreed.
I hate, but if we don't, it sounds like we're probably just moving towards demolition by neglect on the other side. And meanwhile, people on both sides of this house have to put up with this, and that's not really fair to them either. So we find ourselves in a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I think there's kind of an air of inevitability here. So anyway, thank you.
If I may too, I am trying to expand on those avenues. It's a tough place to go to. You know, I chuckle every time I read our dangerous building hearing orders that from our administrative hearings, because the law department asks us to list them to say, to phrase them to say, you know, must repair or demolish within X days. Well, I don't have that function. You know, I don't have the money to go into this house, fix everything that needs fixing, and place it up for sale. So I'm with you on that avenue. I really wish we had more ways to market these. I'm trying my best with what I have, but so far visiting land bank ideas and that I've met a brick wall with that with you know, everyone at the city so far. So hopefully with the way these are turning, where we're getting a few more of these that come up, such as this one, we can work those avenues better. I have a house now that's tagged dangerous in the 18,000 block of Hanthorn, which is, you know, over by the old Independence Airport in Castle Woods. You know, very nice neighborhood, very, very well kept. And the lady passed away, had absolutely no heirs, went all the way through all the court proceedings, and it sits there. And the church that she attended was paying her taxes and still continue to. And so I have this house that has, you know, raccoons coming in and out of it, and yet it's, you know, it's a $200,000 or $300,000 house if someone were to be able to obtain it. So I run into these things everywhere, not just the older neighborhoods. So I am conscious of it, and I am working as much as I can to kind of market these out or show them to whoever I can that asks. So
thank you for trying, Eric. It really is appreciated, I think, by all of us.
Yeah, it's as frustrating to me as it is you. Trust me, I'd much rather see them stay there. I was a longtime resident of Fairmount, and I watched the teeth disappear for quite some time. So yeah.
I believe we've got a motion. I did make a motion. I think if there's any more discussion, but I hate to do it, but we do need to get to a vote.
Seeing none, Wendy, call the roll, if you would, please.
Twyman?
Sadly, move to approve.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Puente,
Yes.
Commissioner Conley,
Yes.
Commissioner Pierce,
I think Dan dropped off. I think he had connection issues.
okay, we
still have
we
four.
we do have four, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have approval with a 4-0 vote.
Alrighty, that brings us to public comments. Do we have any?
Thank you, Eric. If you're all set
Thanks,
for
Eric.
tonight, then I just want to say thank you for jumping on and answering those questions, and I'll get that information over to you for the records for our city files tomorrow.
Thanks,
Sounds
Eric.
good.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you all for having me. I plan to attend more when I can. I sure appreciate you having me here, and it was great to speak with all of you.
We appreciate all your
You too.
efforts.
You too.
problem.
Thank you.
That brings us to, do we have public comments, Wendy?
We no longer have any members of the public present.
Okay. Heritage Commission comments. Anything, any members' comments? Seeing none. That brings us to staff.
I do want to say something just really briefly. You know, the recommendations that you have, sorry, we're getting a lot of feedback on the phone over here. The recommendations that you do have are definitely taken under advisement at the staff level, but that issue of a mothballing ordinance, we're still looking at that. I'm hoping that we can get that done relatively soon. But every year, you know, we take a look at what we can and cannot get done via staff. We are definitely going to be requesting some additional funds for a no interest loan program for our locally designated properties, but we are going to still be looking at potential support for a mothballing ordinance. We're always looking at opportunities to get additional rehab in. As a matter of fact, the property at 9717 has been a codes issue that I've been working with Eric on, and there is an investor who decided to try to purchase the property to rehab it versus what would essentially be in a demolition that would be coming before the commission. So that's potentially a property saved through rehabilitation. So we do have good stories. They don't always make it to the commission, but I don't want you to feel like that this is a lost cause. And Eric has been extremely proactive in trying to find solutions to this. So where he feels like, you know, there's some good support and there's some, you know, financial ability to cover programs, then we're absolutely looking at every avenue that we have to try to do that. And I think, you know, back to the rental ready program, even just having inspections, even with very bare bones requirements, I think, you know, is a step in the right direction to try to save these types of buildings, because it's really them getting to this point that requires them to come. And so I just don't want everyone to get completely disheartened. Things are moving in a positive direction, and it's just you know, smaller and more incremental steps, but we are getting towards a better place. So please don't lose heart just yet. Just a housekeeping thing really quickly. I had a lot of requests asking if I was going to send an additional link out for tonight's meeting. If you download the app, in the app, the calendar should show a recurring meeting. And you should be able to click on the link within the app as part of the calendar function. So if for some reason the agenda link doesn't work, it's a shortened version of that app's link, but that is always there as a backup. If you need the agenda link, you can click on, or you can go into the calendar function to find it. So just for those of you who has some questions about that, and hopefully I can work with Dwayne on that as well and get him all hooked up for next meeting. We did have a meeting on the Truman Depot today. They are still in negotiations with just a few final things with UP, but I think the city is feeling like they're moving in the right direction. I was told that it's a possibility that this project could be started over the late winter and be completed by the summer. So it is absolutely still on the to-do list. The city is moving forward on it. It's been very slow, but it is getting done. And I would love to shoot for Truman's birthday. I'm going to be extremely optimistic with that. But I do want you to know, as soon as that project is completed, there will be a ribbon cutting, and we'll have the entire commission to that event. And it'll be really great to have it back up and running and in a much better state of repair than it is currently. So I know there's been a lot of questions about that, and we are moving forward with that. Lastly, there was a request for starting up our outreach committee again. And I did get some interest from Sam, but I haven't heard from anyone else. Our outreach just develops ideas to be more of a public face. Allow the commission to get out in the public, to introduce yourselves, to do maybe some built environment education for the general public. So if you would like to be on a little brainstorming committee, we can do a Teams meeting and just jump on. It's really just an opportunity to come up. This is how we came up with our architectural walking tours that we're doing this fall. Our first one is this Saturday, if you're interested in joining us. And you know, if you would like to do that and you don't want to volunteer this evening, you want to look at your schedule, let me know. But we typically have 3 to 4 people on this committee, and right now we just have 1. So I would like to get some more feedback from some of the commissioners if you're interested in doing that. And otherwise, I don't have any COAs on for the next meeting, but if for some reason we're in the position where we would cancel it, then we would be meeting again the following first Tuesday in November. But we're looking at the first Tuesday in October. And for those of you who were not on, Kaylin, has submitted her resignation for the commission. So we do have an open position again. If you know someone who might be interested, please encourage them to put their application in with the city clerk's office. We don't have our hierarchy any longer for our chair, our vice chair, and our secretary. I don't know if Chair Twyman will just bump up automatically, so I'll find out the details of that. We may have another election that we'll have to do at the next meeting, but if you know someone who's interested, we'd love to have them consider joining us on the commission. Kaylin just said that she had a lot of scheduling conflicts and was just finding it really difficult to dedicate the time she wanted to the commission. So, and other than that, that is all for me.
Wendy, would it be considered appropriate to make a motion to send Kaylin a letter of thanks for her service to the commission?
That would be just fine. I'd be happy to do that.
I'd like to, no, I can't do that because I'm chairing the committee.
You are chair.
Would anyone care to make a motion thanking Kaylin for her service to the committee?
Dwayne made a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, it's been moved and seconded that Wendy send a note thanking Kaylin for her service to the committee. Do we need a roll call for this, or can we just do ayes? Okay.
No, it's fine.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I would like to encourage you, if you are getting out and about in the community, Wine Fest is this weekend at the Bingham. There's also a scavenger hunt at the Vale. The architectural walking tour for our fall tour starts this Saturday at the Truman Visitor Center. And we'll do that the first Saturday or second Saturday of each month. So if you're interested in joining us for that, or you know people who are in town and they would like to learn a little bit more about our built environment, please encourage them to attend our free tour.
What time, Wendy?
Sorry?
What time?
It's at 10 o'clock. There is a very large 9/11 memorial ceremony that's going on the square, which is usually where we take off from, on the north side of the courthouse. So if you park closer to the visitor center, you'd be able to park and just join us. But that's going to be put on by Jeff with the National Park Service, and he's going to give us kind of a nice tour, a little rewind to 1921 in the celebration of what independence would have looked like 100 years into its bicentennial 200-year celebration. So if you're interested in that, I think it'll be a really good tour. Jeff is extremely knowledgeable. He gives a great tour and is open to questions. So if that's something you would like to join us for, we'd love that. But also, if you can support our other historic sites, please do. I know that they appreciate all of that, especially after this last year. So otherwise, we are all set.
1 second. Did we indeed vote to send Kaylin a note? I didn't hear all of the ayes or nays. I didn't call for nation.
I thought I heard it all in favor and there were ayes.
Are we good? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll give you guys one more thing, and then I'll make the motion to adjourn. Just a little update on some things going around the square that are a little more upbeat than us tearing stuff down. I thought you guys might like to know about. There's a facade grant program that's been going on the square for a little while. I don't know if any of you guys know Assistant City Manager Mark Randall. He's done a really good job of getting that program started. And there's several buildings that are taking advantage of that facade grant program. Big John's Corner Bar, which is going through, they just did a complete retuck point, and they're on back order on some new windows for their storefront to really update that. It's how the chamber funded that portico that needed remodeled on the front of their building. And there's a lot of other projects that are going. And on the artwork front, there's a statue that's going to be unveiled sometime in October by Byron Constance. That is Harry Truman in his World War I uniform, that kind of iconic photo that we've all seen. So Between that and the murals that went up on Maple right before Santa Caligon, I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on our historic area. So should all be good and give us all some good positive talking points for everybody.
Yeah. And I will ask one quick thing, Wendy. Has there been any interest about Facebook posts on lost or little known architectural features around the city?
I have not started that program yet, and so far I only have a submittal from Sam, so I don't know if we have anyone else who's interested in starting that series of posts.
I'm interested. I just haven't figured out one yet.
Okay. So as soon as I get maybe 2 or 3 that I can make sure that we're gonna continuously do posts, then I'll go ahead and get that started. But so far we don't have a huge group. We have maybe around 40 people on that Facebook site. I did order some new bookmarks that can be given out to all of our events. That'll encourage people to go to our city historic preservation website. And then we will be doing a mailer soon to all of the locally designated properties so that we can get information out to them about hopefully the Facebook group, but also just general information that they're in the local district and if they have questions to reach out to the city.
Okay. First one, maybe that'll whet contribute as well.
Yeah, I'll make sure I get the bookmarks to you. They're pretty cute. They're in the shape of a house at the top, and we use Diane's bungalow on the front per permission from her nice. To try to encourage people to get to our website and find out more about what's going on. So
nice, good deal. Thanks.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.